Hello, Leslieville and Leslieville neighbors. Welcome to Coffee with the Nosy Neighbor. For those of you who watch my Monday walking tours, you will know that I have been away for some time now on my 50th birthday tour. I am actually returning tomorrow, but that said, it means I don't have any stats for you this week. What I do have is a wonderful interview with Kurt Cooper from Cooper Law. We're going to talk about some real estate law terms that you encounter and what they might mean to you and your property. And without any further ado, here's Kirk. Hello, Kirk. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, Shauna. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
That's great.
So today, I thought that we would talk about some terms that we find in real estate law that sound similar but are different, and you could explain a little bit about those differences for us.
Okay.
Okay, so first I wanted to ask the difference between a cohabitation agreement and a co-ownership agreement. Had to check my notes there.
All right. Well, the difference between a co-ownership agreement and a cohabitation agreement is one. The co-ownership agreement only deals with a property, a particular property, and it deals with how the deposits or down payment is made for the property, who the owners are, and how they split the equity and the costs of that property.
Okay,
Specific to a piece of real property.
okay,
A cohabitation agreement is designed to deal with the domestic affairs of a couple. So it will deal with support, it will deal with estate matters, and it will deal with ownership of assets and division of assets if they should split.
okay. And so that a co-ownership could be across multiple properties.
No, co-ownership is generally, I mean, you could put many properties in it, I suppose.
Okay,
We usually do one for each property.
okay,
And then the ownership is specified because people may be on title for a different percentage than they actually really want to or really are for various reasons. Or
okay.
they might not be on title at all, but want to be recognized as an owner of the property, kind of like a trust.
Interesting.
Mm.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, here's one that we see all the time in the land descriptions: right of way versus an easement.
Right. Right of way and easement. Very good question. So, a right of way is a right to access your land for a specific purpose. For example, Toronto Hydro may have a right of way over the back 2 meters of your property to string electric power lines, and they have a right to come on your property to maintain those lines and to do any work that's necessary on those lines.
And do they need to give you notice for that access, or they can just come on?
They should give you notice, but
Okay.
they could just come on, especially if it were an emergency. The other thing, and then you have right of way, that makes a right of way. Easement is different. An easement is like an access. So many times in Toronto, we see houses which have a mutual driveway. So you own half of that mutual driveway, and your neighbor owns the other half. But you have a right of way over their half of the driveway, which they own, to use it, and they have a right of way over your half of the driveway to use it.
Because you can't fit a car up half a driveway.
No, and you can't fit a car up most of those mutual
That's true,
driveways
too.
either. Especially
Maybe
not
a mini.
maybe some 1970s car would never fit.
No, fair.
So that's how that would work. So, or like walkways could be a right of way, or just a space between two houses that's narrow. They might have to get in a backyard, for example. This could be an easement, sort of, to get between them, like a right of way.
Okay.
It's different than an easement because an easement is a specific purpose, whereas a right of way is typically mostly for access.
Okay.
And it could be for anything, but it's mostly for access.
Easement, specific purpose, right of way, typically for access.
Yes.
Okay, interesting.
And right of way has ownership, and an easement does not.
Right of way has ownership and easement does not. Okay.
Right.
Good
And
to know.
neither of them can you stop up and prevent access. So
Okay.
you can't tell Toronto Hydro you cannot come on our property for your easement, and
You can't tell your neighbor you can't drive up half the driveway.
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
And then, actually, in the name of parking, often with parking and lockers, we'll see it can be an owned parking or an exclusive parking. What's the difference between those two?
Right. Very good question. So many owned versus exclusive use. Exclusive use means you have a right to use it, but you do not own it. So often in condos, for example, a balcony will be always exclusive use. You are the only one which can use it. It's why it's exclusive, because it's attached to your owned unit, but you don't actually own the balcony. It's considered exclusive use, common element. Or a parking spot or a locker can be also an exclusive use item. So in my building, for example, we own the parking spots, but the locker is exclusive use. Everybody gets one and it's assigned to your unit, but you can't sell it because it goes with your unit.
Okay.
But it's exclusive use. But
Now,
and so just the other thing is, where it's not exclusive use, so it's deeded or owned, like a parking spot, you can sell it. Exclusive use, you cannot sell it.
interesting. And I know, like, my mom is in a building where if you sell your unit and your exclusive use parking spot was, say, underground, the next person might end up with an above ground parking spot, and one of the current owners will get the underground spot, right? So it's exclusive use, but it's not a specific spot that you can have.
Yes, that's often the case also, especially with parking in buildings. And sometimes lockers. I know a building nearby here, my office, and you can get a locker if they have available, but you get it wherever it is. And so that's not got your suite number on it, it's just you get locker 12.
Okay.
And when you go out, or you don't want it anymore, the next person who wants a locker will get 12. There's no rhyme, no reason to that.
Right.
The other thing to keep in mind is if it is like a parking spot or a locker and you can sell it, there are often rules about who can own it. So for example, you cannot sell your parking spot to somebody who doesn't own a residential unit in your complex.
Right.
Right, very important.
Yeah, that is very important. And then actually so moving from parking and condos, condo versus co-op. So my mom's in a co-op. They usually sell for less money, but they're often quite cute. And then condo, what's the difference?
Condo, you have title to your property. So you own your specific unit in that condominium corporation. It's part of a condo corporation. In a co-op, it's the whole building is the co-op and you own part of the co-op. Usually you own shares in a corporation. So you will have, say, so let's say your unit is 100 square meters and there's 1,000 square meters of units in the building. So you have 1/10. So your share certificate will say you have 1 share out of 10 in the corporation, and that makes your unit that you own. So you don't own the real estate, you own shares in the corporation.
Okay, a slice of the pie.
Yes, a slice of the pie. Or I know nearby my office there is a co-op, which I think is really more called a co-ownership, and that one you own a percentage of the total deed of the land.
Okay.
So you do get a title document, and it will say you own 1/337th of the building.
Right.
Because it's based upon the percentage of the total size of the complex that your unit occupies. So that also is another way. Some people call it a co-op. I call that more a co-ownership.
Right.
Because you actually own it, but it's not the same as owning a condominium. You just own a percentage of the whole thing.
Okay,
Right.
Interesting. Thank you so much. Those are all my questions for what's the difference today.
All right.
Okay, well, we'll see you again in a couple of months.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks, you too. That was Kirk, everybody. And that, my friends, is everything for this edition of Coffee with the Nosy Neighbor. I will see you next time for regular programming when I am back in Toronto. Thanks again.